I'm proud of our guys. We're down so many players. I feel like we have more players that are hurt than healthy. And for us to battle, a veteran, older team, a tough team, physical team, and to watch our two freshmen, especially with JJ and Dre, make some of the plays they did down the stretch. Sam going out. I know Kenny talked to you about, her injured his toe. I don't know anything more right now, but obviously he couldn't return. But we're really proud of our group. At Seton Hall, that I give them a lot of props for even playing the game. Kevin's such a stand-up guy. He's a terrific coach. They have such an incredible culture of toughness. They're hard to play against. And, he goes 14 days and doesn't practice. So for us to, there'd be a lot of coaches probably mailed in and say, hey, we're not playing the game until, we get a few practices under our belt. So it is what it is. We're really fortunate to win the game and move on to our next game on Sunday.
Chris, can you just speak about the last 30 or 40 seconds and what JJ did there? The bucket, the putback bucket, then he gets the rebound, and then he gets the 2 free throws. But he kind of grew up there in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, we need him to, because everybody that's playing isn't very experienced. So we need all of our guys, Jody, to really grow up. And it's one thing if maybe you have a game where you're playing really well all along and you got a little confidence in yourself. But I think JJ would tell you that, he was a little bit out of sorts, didn't play his best, didn't play as well as he did against Evansville. And for him to have the presence of mind, the mental toughness to stay with it, make a couple of plays down the stretch that allowed us to win the game, says a lot about him. He's very quiet. His improvement has been rapid. And his ceiling is just absolutely through the roof. All we ask for JJ is, like, don't let your physical strength be a negative. Don't get bullied. If you don't get bullied, he can play above the rim. He can finish around the basket. He can block shots. Don't let the strength be a negative. And it's one thing saying it, but when you're going against guys like Sandro and Ike Obiagu, just some big, tough, physical guys. It's a challenge. He really grew up, Jody.
Chris, twice in the last minute and a half or 2 minutes, they took a timeout. JJ was on Sandro, and out of the timeout, you put DJ to put David on Sandro, and it really kind of caused them or caught them maybe a little off guard. What did you see with putting him on there, and did you feel like he did a good job?
Well, that Sandro to me is one of the multi-dimensional, face-up forwards in the game. He can play the 4, the 5 equally as well. He's a prospect at the pro level. I think everybody knows that. And, he got it going there a little bit, down the stretch. And to say, hey, we want a freshman from Bardstown who weighs 190 pounds to be on him at the end probably wasn't fair to JJ. He battled. He's done a great job. But, David's a sophomore. And some of our freshmen that have turned sophomores, it has to become a little bit more their team. Take the lessons that David learned a year ago and can he apply them as a sophomore? I thought David did a great job. But, Jody, here's the thing. They're setting so many daggone ball screens that the matchups that you won't want don't necessarily end up how you want them to look. So, we were just very, very fortunate that, we saw a free throw go by the wayside there at the end.
Also, with that. They came out in that 2-3, the one time in Carleek. They jumped Carleek, and right away he found the open guy. His floor game today, he got a lot of long rebounds, 11 rebounds in all, but just his floor game.
Yeah, Carleek is a very high IQ player. He uses his body great. He changes speeds. We didn't even talk about the possibility of them running at him. Felt like Seton Hall's conditioning probably wasn't going to be great as they hadn't practiced for so long. We said they could throw a matchup zone at us, which they did a few possessions of the game. They could certainly ice the ball screen and push him to a side of the floor. But for him to have the presence of mind to hit Jalen and then Jalen to be able to make the right play and JJ to finish the basket, I got a lot of trust with Carleek having the ball in his hands.
All right, with that, we'll go to questions from our media on the call. Somebody wants to drop us a note in the chat that you're ready to ask one? I see Tim on there. Are you ready to go, Tim?
Well, I hope so.
There you go.
It can be heard. Chris, how do you explain Carleek's rebounding knack? This is 2 straight games where the game high rebounder has been a 6'1" point guard, and tonight against guys 7'2", 6'11". What did you see there previously, and what have you seen so far?
Yeah, as I said before, he really knows how to use his body, Tim. He's not afraid of anything. Because we were switching so many on-the-ball screens, a lot of the times he was rolling into the post or near the block, guarding a 4-man, And so if he can keep that guy from getting the ball in the air, I do know if it goes waist and below, he's going to be quicker to the ball than a 4 or 5. He's got like a lot of high IQ players, he has a really good nose for the ball. He just knows where the ball is going to ricochet to. He doesn't leak out, and he's a tough kid. And he's been a rebounder his whole career. I mean, high school, Radford here, but 11 rebounds against the Seton Hall team, and we needed all 11.
Thank you.
Other questions for Coach?
Hey, Coach, it's Pat Jackers, ESPN Louisville. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the last 10 minutes of the game. Seton Hall was able to narrow the lead there late, and I just want to know what your thoughts on, what was the difference?
Well, I think, Pat, they're a good team. There we go. You play a team that, some teams you get up 10 or 12 points and they start to cave a little bit. That's not Seton Hall. It's just not Kevin's team's identities, and of course we knew that as a coaching staff. I'm sure, a guy like Malik Williams on our bench knew that. I'm coaching a lot of young players, and they made some really tough plays. I mean, really, big time shots. Our whole thing was don't let them in the lane. Don't give them second shots. And they got a lot of second shots. Our kids are battling. And so, you give credit to the other team. Just, we're not having the ability to sub in, a ton of players. So guys are trying to play through fatigue. Seton Hall's not going to quit. But, equally as impressive to me isn't necessarily them taking the lead. It's our players' resiliency in that last 3.5 minutes after getting down, being up 10 or 12, to pull out a win, after we had given up the lead. So, Seton Hall's not going to quit. I can tell you that.
We'll go to Shannon.
Hey, Coach. When Quinn was called for that foul there right at the end, what was going through your mind, and can you kind of set that up for us?
Yeah, so that's my fault. I pulled David and Carleek over to the side and said to them, 5 seconds left. You don't want to be yelling to your players. If he makes it, we're going to foul. If he misses it, you don't want to put JJ in that situation where he's hearing his coach yelling if he misses it, right? So brought Carleek and David over and told those guys on the ball handler dribbling the ball up the floor, we want to reach in before half court, and so David was guarding his own matchup, Sandro, who was way down the floor. Carleek was on the other side of the floor with a different matchup, and unfortunately, I didn't do a good enough job getting the message to Quinn. You have to cover so much in a preseason. We always know as a coaching staff that we're going to foul. We should have practiced that. We should have had a call. And Mike Roberts, the referee, looked at me, and I just said, yeah, we're going to foul. And I thought we would do it on the 65 feet as he's dribbling up the ball up the floor, and not on the exact time at the shot. So that's on me, and fortunately he missed the third free throw.
We'll go to Gary Grays and then Nick Coffey.
Chris, you were such a young team. How patient are you in terms of, trying to develop their poise, and what did they kind of show you today with how they reacted there after falling behind, and then, just trying to get that lead back?
Yeah, obviously we have a lot of experience when Carleek's got the ball in his hands. We really trust him to make the right play. I thought David's learned and gotten better because he's around Carleek. He's really slowed down. He played much better today than he did against Evansville. But even Dave still has freshman moments. Like instead of driving the big guy, he settled for that 3-point shot, wanting to be a little bit of the hero. So, our experience level with the guys that have the ball in their hands is maybe greater than maybe some of our parts, all the other guys. But, I was tremendously proud of our guys to be able to take that gut punch and keep responding. We talked about not giving up second shots. I looked over at our DBO at one point in the game and said, "Hey, whatever happens, our guys are really starting to grow up." Because what I'm not going to lower the expectation on is our ability to communicate and play hard. I'm sorry that you played at Bardstown last year or you played at Lawrence Central. That's not my fault. You play at Louisville now. You came here. You want to compete for an ACC championship. You have to be able to do things at a higher level than you've ever been held to. So we're not going to lower our standards. We're banged up right now. But, I know I have to be patient on decisions, things like, that happened at Quinn at the end, fouling a jump shooter. We're going to learn. We're going to learn. We're going to watch film just like we did from Evansville. We got better. So I'm going to be patient on some things. I'm going to be impatient on others.
Nick. Nick, I'm thinking that's coming from you, so I'm not exactly sure what that's a question or a rap or what that was.
That was a nice little mix.
We'll take one other question. I'm sorry, Nick, if you've got a question, drop in the chat and I'll try and get it.
It's like Herbie Hancock, right? Rocket.
Does anybody else have? We'll go to one other question and then I'll try and get something.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Coach, once again, Pat Jaggers, ESPN Louisville. I just wanted to ask you, you guys did a pretty solid job rebounding tonight, at least when you look on the stat sheet, 43-41. You only got out-rebounded by 2. Were you happy with your team's ability to block out overall and just to get rebounding? What's kind of your evaluation on rebounding tonight?
I just don't think we're physical enough on our blockouts, Pat. I could be wrong. I think our guys tried to identify their man when the shot went up, but just because you know who's going to crash doesn't mean that you're physical enough. I knew Seton Hall, just how they play, their physicality, their older, experienced players, their size. You saw it in the first 4 minutes of the game. Jalen Withers just getting pushed aside and not going after the ball. So they got a lot more offensive rebounds than we're used to giving up. We got to do a better job.
All right, Coach, with that, obviously Nick's having some issues here, so
Thanks, Coach.
We will close it out with that. We will be joined by Carleek Jones and JJ Trainer shortly.